rifle is already up. Somewhere in the warren of rubble and broken concrete below, an insurgent is moving toward a window with an RPG on his shoulder, and he has no idea he is already inside a Marine sniper's crosshairs. He has seconds, so does the Marine behind the glass. What you are about to witness is engagements where Marine snipers faced impossible odds, outnumbered, outmaneuvered, or flat out of time, and turned the equation around in a single trigger pull. This is the top 5 most lethal Marine sniper engagements ever caught on combat footage, ranked by confirmed enemy kills. November 10th, 2004, Fallujah, Iraq. The streets are silent in the way that only means something terrible is about to happen. Operation Phantom Fury has pushed Marine rifle squads into the city's heart, and every block ahead is a trap. For months, insurgents fortified these buildings from the inside, punched firing holes through walls, stacked ammunition in stairwells, positioned RPG teams in upper-story windows directly above the corridors they knew Marines would have to take. The math was simple and brutal. Funnel the infantry into the street, fire the RPG from above, and watch the squad disappear in the blast. Sergeant Ethan Place is already in position. His crosshairs are moving across the building, faces ahead of the advancing squad. They don't know what's waiting in those windows. He's about to find out before they do. Place's spotter breaks the silence first. Movement, second floor, white building, left window. Place shifts his scope. A figure materializes in the shadow of the frame. The RPG tube comes up slow, the gunner settling his weight, muzzle angled toward the intersection where a Marine squad is moving exposed across open ground 200 yards below. They have no idea he's there. Place can see what they cannot. The insurgent's cheek is against the launcher. His body language says he's already committed. The spotter confirms, positive ID, RPG, he's got a shot. The squad is still alive, but only for the next few seconds because the man in that window is about to change that. Place controls his breath. The crosshairs stop moving. Place squeezes the trigger. The shot cracks across the rooftops before the RPG ever leaves the tube. The insurgent collapses in the window frame. The launcher drops. 200 yards below, the Marine squad keeps moving. They never knew, but the block knows. Within seconds, every hidden position opens up. Small arms, rooftop movement, figures breaking from doorways. The RPG man wasn't just a gunner, he was the signal. His shot was meant to trigger the entire ambush at once. Place had just fired that trigger back into its face. His spotter calls new targets. Place works the bolt. The hunters become the hunted, and they can't find where the shots are coming from. 3 confirmed kills. That is the RPG kill through the window. But Place wasn't the only Marine using elevation as a weapon in Fallujah. The next sniper turned an entire rooftop into a one-man killing grid. Night, November 2004. Staff Sergeant Jacob Waldvogel led his 2-man team across a rubble-strewn rooftop hours before the infantry assault jumped off, full gear, belly crawling to the parapet edge. Their mission was to see what infantry couldn't and kill it before it killed them. From 30 feet up, the entire avenue of advance opened below like a map. Doorways that looked empty from street level, windows that showed nothing to a Marine on the ground. From here, they showed everything. The elevated angle wasn't just a better view, it was the only view that mattered. From up high, Waldvogel could see something the Marines below would never spot in time. Insurgents had spent weeks turning Fallujah's residential blocks into an above-ground tunnel network. From street level, each structure looked sealed, separate, a dead end. From 30 feet up, the pattern broke open. A fighter would vanish into a doorway on the east side of a block, then reappear in a window 3 buildings west, never crossing open ground. A hidden fighting grid running above the fighter's head while they cleared rooms below. Waldvogel's elevation exposed every node in that network. Movement at a breach hole, crosshairs. Still, the fighter never made it to the next building. That is the geometry that made this position worth dying to hold. But holding ground and rescuing pinned Marines are 2 different problems, and the radio was about to make that distinction violently clear. The radio crackles. A Marine squad, 2 blocks south, is pinned in a stairwell, automatic fire pouring from a 3rd-floor apartment window, exit routes cut off. Waldvogel's team doesn't wait for a second transmission. They move fast across the rooftop, staying below the parapet line, rounds snapping overhead from the same building they're now orienting toward. The far corner gives them the angle, barely. A sliver of the third-floor window exposed just enough. Crosshairs settle, breathing slows, the muzzle flash blinks again. One shot. The firing stops. The pinned squad calls back. Route is clear, they're moving. The firing stops. Down in that stairwell, those Marines are already moving. They don't know who pulled them out. By the time Waldvogel's team rotated off that roof, the after-action report confirmed what the radio transmissions already knew. Multiple enemy combatants neutralized. Marine elements extracted from imminent threat, all from a single Overwatch position across a single operational period in Fallujah. Next, a man whose record wasn't built in one city, roof, or even one war. It was buried for decades, and when that number finally surfaced, it stopped everyone cold. Sergeant Chuck Mawhinney spent 3 tours in Vietnam's Arizona Territory near Da Nang, some of the most savage sniper country of the war. He came home with 103 confirmed kills, the all-time United States Marine Corps record, more than any Marine sniper before or since. Nobody knew. His unit's records were buried when he rotated out. Mawhinney returned to civilian life, took a job with the Forest Service, and said nothing. For decades, the man holding the USMC's highest kill count was cutting trails in Oregon. That night, the Arizona Territory went black. Mawhinney pressed his eye to the starlight scope and saw them. A column of NVA soldiers, single file, crossing a shallow stream 30 meters wide. 16 men, moving slow, deliberate, confident the dark owned them. They had no idea the dark was already working against them. Every man glowing pale green through Mawhinney's scope, fully exposed, nowhere to break left, nowhere to break right. The water held them in a perfect line. They were a platoon. He was one man, and they were walking directly into his crosshairs without knowing he existed. The stream gave him something no ambush planner could engineer, a choke point, a straight moving target with no cover and no warning. What happened next happened in 30 seconds. He fired at the lead man first. The column froze for half a second, one man down, the rest confused, scanning the dark. Then Mawhinney shifted to the trailman. Now the column had no exit. 16 NVA soldiers standing in ankle-deep water and a sniper they couldn't locate working inward from both ends. He worked the bolt, acquired, fired, worked the bolt again. The starlight scope turned each man into a pale green silhouette. Mawhinney didn't miss. 30 seconds after the first trigger pull, 16 men were down in that stream. Survivors broke for the tree line and vanished. 16 confirmed kills, half a minute. 16 bodies in a stream is a number that demands proof. In Vietnam, that proof was almost never clean. Body counts were politically inflated, padded by commanders chasing metrics, impossible to verify. That is exactly why Mawhinney's record draws skepticism at first glance. But his spotter was present for every trigger pull that night, each kill logged individually. Mawhinney never inflated anything. The records did it quietly, buried in filing cabinets for 2 decades until someone finally looked. But the number only tells half the story. What those 16 kills actually stopped that night, that's what makes this a different kind of record entirely. Before those 16 men reached their target, they were already a platoon-strength threat capable of tearing through the flank of an entire Marine forward position. After Chuck Mawhinney's 30 seconds at that stream, they were 16 bodies in the dark, and the operation they were part of had no forward element left to execute it. That forward was the penetration point. Without it, the NVA movement collapsed before it touched American lines. But if Mawhinney's UN-3 confirmed kills drew enemy attention, one sniper drew something far darker, a 30,000 bounty placed on him personally by NVA command. Guy-esque. Carlos Hathcock, Hill 55, South Vietnam, 1966. Call sign, White Feather. The single white feather he wore in his bush hat, worn deliberately even after NVA command made it a target. That hat became a death sentence, not for Hathcock, for them. By late 1966, NVA commanders were writing about one Marine sniper operating out of Hill 55, whose confirmed kill total had reached numbers that were collapsing entire patrol routes. So they put a price on him, $30,000, more than any other American in country. Hathcock had disrupted so many NVA movements that eliminating him had become a command-level priority. That was the bounty, and he was about to prove exactly why they were afraid. Late 1966. An NVA general was operating from a fortified jungle compound. Command wanted him dead. Getting close enough meant crossing 500 meters of open ground, all watched by roving patrols. Hathcock went in alone. For 3 days and 3 nights he moved in inches. When patrols swept past, he froze completely, sometimes for hours, while enemy soldiers passed within arm's reach. The mission dies. Hathcock dies. 15 football fields, crawling. He reached his firing position on day 3, dehydrated, muscles locked from near total stillness. But reaching the position was only half the mission. What Hathcock did with that single shot and how he got back out is what collapsed an entire NVA offensive before it began. Day 3. He is already there. Hathcock settled his crosshairs on the compound. The NVA general moved into the open. A single crack split the jungle air. The general dropped. Hathcock, watching through his scope long enough to know, then beginning the same 500 meters back out. On his stomach, the same patrol still sweeping the same ground. He made it out clean. Post-war NVA accounts confirmed it. The general's death froze an entire planned offensive. Units waiting for orders received none. The operation dissolved before it launched. That is the weight of a single confirmed kill. But the general wasn't the most dangerous target Hathcock ever faced. That target was already hunting him. The Cobra had a name inside NVA command. He was their answer to Hathcock, a trained counter-sniper deployed specifically to find the white feather and end him. They found each other at the same moment. Hathcock picked up a glint in the jungle. He aligned his crosshairs on it and squeezed the trigger. The shot traveled straight down the Cobra's scope tube and entered his eye. The physics are almost impossible. For Hathcock's bullet to travel directly down an optic, both rifles had to be in near-perfect alignment, meaning the Cobra had Hathcock dead in his own sight picture at that exact instant. A half-second delay, and it's Hathcock who doesn't come home. 93 confirmed. USMC verification protocol required spotter confirmation on every kill. Hathcock operated in terrain where spotters didn't always survive the same ground he was working. What the official record couldn't capture, unit commanders documented separately. After-action reports from I Corps put the observed estimate significantly higher. The actual number died in the jungle with the men he put there. And it still wasn't the highest confirmed total in American military history. That record belongs to a man whose number was written down explicitly in a commendation citation signed by the United States Army. 1969. Mekong River, South Vietnam. The patrol boat pushes upriver, hull slapping against the current, deck rolling underfoot. Waldron is at the rail when the crew spots a Viet Cong sniper concealed in a tree line approximately 900 meters across the water. Both shooter and target are moving. The boat rocks. The river pushes back. The VC sniper shifts in the canopy, repositioning for another shot. Waldron settles into the weapon on a moving deck, compensating for drift, current, platform roll, and target movement simultaneously, variables that would make most trained marksmen lower the rifle. He fires once. The crew watches the figure drop from the tree. Shot confirmed. That is the Mekong boat shot, one of the most technically extreme confirmed kills on record. Men were already bleeding on that deck. The VC sniper had found his range before Waldron answered. 2 crew members down. Return fire already snapping across the water. This is a man on an unstable platform, under active fire, engaging a camouflage target at 900 meters with his own wounded behind him. The variables stacked against that shot don't just make it difficult, they make the math refuse to work. Waldron made it work anyway. That is what separates this kill from a remarkable long shot. The conditions weren't survivable. He survived them. The target wasn't hittable. He hit it. The Army saw exactly what happened on that river, and they wrote it down. The Distinguished Service Cross citation for Staff Sergeant Adelbert Waldron doesn't use vague language. It references his uncanny ability. Those are the citation's own words, and it ties specific engagements to specific dates and locations along the Mekong Delta. 109 kills, the highest verified total in the history of the United States military. That is the record. That is Waldron. 5 snipers, 5 engagements, 1 standard, confirmed, documented, and caught on the unforgiving ledger of what actually happened downrange. If that RPG had cleared that window 1 second sooner, 3 Marines go home in boxes. Drop a comment. Did Place's split-second shot save the position, or was Mawhinney's 30-second massacre the moment that defined what a Marine sniper truly is? Like and subscribe.